My name is Drew Martin, and I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. My wife and I moved here about 2 years ago. There's a great opportunity for my wife within a local hospital here. I work for a health insurance company called United Healthcare. I work within our Medicaid division. Most importantly to me personally is I work for our most vulnerable population of people. I spent about 8 years working on the west side of Chicago, running a pretty large nonprofit where we covered the gamut of social services, whether it was substance abuse treatment, Head Start, programs around youth, programs around curbing violence. But there was a point in my life where it was more of a transactional than transformational. And I knew that joining United, because of the investment, because of the resources a company that big offered, especially for that population, we'll be able to actually transform the lives of people. I went to Catholic school, from first grade all the way through high school. I was fortunate enough to, get a few scholarships here and there along the way. My parents were not by all wealthy. We were the working poor for the most part, single parent household. My mom's just steadfastness in education, regardless of our living circumstances. She valued education. She knew that education was my only way out. So she did everything she could to make sure I went to the best schools possible. I was raised in Catholicism, so to speak, as far as school goes. There were some things about it that I really didn't appreciate, so to speak, at the time. And then when I came to college, I kind of lost my way in faith, big time. God wasn't as important to me as he should have been. And it wasn't until I met my wife and got more mature and landed in this church in Baltimore is when I truly saw God, but not a one-on-one relationship with God. I saw God through the people that comforted me. It was a time where I hadn't had tons of strong male influences in my life ever, especially African-American men. My father was my father's a great guy, and my uncles, but when it comes to like how to be a man and how to be a family man at that, I never had that until these group of men at this church in Baltimore, brought me in under their fold and really showed me who God was and really showed me God's works. This was a very evangelical church, so to speak, if that makes any sense. Very structured, lots of rules, especially around dress code. So when I walked in there and I had on gym shoes and jeans, not truly knowing, and everyone was like in like three-piece suits, they could have easily shunned me away, but they didn't. They eventually had me wearing three-piece suits, a few months later. But at the same time, they didn't shoo me away. They didn't say, "Oh, here's another young guy." They was like, "This seems like a guy that we want to get to know and grow, and grow in the faith." We talked about that, I know, maybe a year ago at this church about, people's initial reaction when they come here for the first time. Is this a place they want to come back to? But who would have known that I would have found God like I've never, found him before? And it's different because I did go to Catholic school, so I knew the Bible, I studied it, I understood it, but I never had a true relationship until those moments. I believe my calling here in Champaign is to truly be what those gentlemen were for me. And that's to go into the community as an African-American male and be a symbol of what God can do. Even when everyone else around you, even when the ecosystem around you is not set up for you to be successful as an African-American male, it's possible. But I always need to be conscious that if I'm going to be a symbol for others, and if I want others to see what God did for me, and then it can also be for you, like my circumstances that you're in, young child, is a lot similar to the circumstances I was in. So I want to be that symbol, but actually do the work and be a mentor to young African-American men. And not just young African-American men, young men in general. Because Champaign is a unique circumstance where I grew up in Chicago. Chicago was definitely a segregated city by race. Champaign is race, but it's also income. There's a lot of working poor whites that also need just as many as mentors and people like myself, just anyone else. I want to be that simple. I believe God is leading me to that. He's only ordered my steps in that direction, so I have to continue to listen. I think I need more people like me. So I think it's the introduction. I would love to get a group of men, like myself. And what are some things we can be doing as a group of men in order to not only be symbols for the community, but actually get things changed? I think there are great organizations that has done that at a really high level. And I think it's something that we can do here as well. When I, graduated high school and I came down here to Champaign for college, that I was not ready for adulthood. I think as African Americans, and this has been shown, we have to grow up a lot faster. People perceive us as being older than we really are. The neighborhoods that we come from, you have to grow up faster. A lot of times you may be the breadwinner, you may be the man of the house in many circumstances. So when you're afforded an opportunity to leave and go elsewhere, that's a culture shock like never before. And that was extremely difficult for me. So I think there are, what I would like to tell people that we have to embrace folks, even when they seem unembraceable, right? Because I was unembraceable, if that's even a word. I was definitely unembraceable, but people still embraced me, despite. So I think that I would love people to know that they don't judge a book by its cover, don't assume anything, but just like Jesus did, embrace everyone. Even the people who are outcast in the community. There are countless of times in the gospel where he went to a place and he looked for that person who was the most outcasted. And that's who he embraced. And that's what we need to do. Because that happened for me, and here I am today. Is unbraceable a word? I don't know. Unembraceable? Unembraceable? We go beyond these four walls. We go beyond, the corner of Staley and Curtis, and we penetrate the communities. And I know it's difficult now, but once this is over and we have a vaccine and we're back to being communal, like what are we going to do as a church to truly penetrate the community and be transformative figures? My name is Drew Martin, and this is my story.